Hello and welcome to a very special collaborative episode of the Total Soccer Show and Dummy. My name is Daryl Grove, and what you're about to hear is the Howler Magazine and TSS live show recorded at Jose Pistola's bar in Philadelphia on January 18th in the middle of the United Soccer Coaches Convention. We had a great crowd, so huge thanks to everyone for coming out. It really meant a lot to us that the room was full. We got to meet a lot of great people after the show, which was a genuine pleasure. Taylor and I put this event together with George Quraishi of Howler Magazine, and George's voice will be the first thing you hear as the show gets underway. Side note, George did a terrific job hosting. Thumbs up to George. To give you a quick preview, we're joined on stage first by the one and only Alexi Lalas, and later by US Soccer Youth Technical Director and US Men's National Team U20 Head Coach Tab Ramos. Whatever your feelings about US soccer right now, I think it's worth highlighting that these two US Men's National Team legends showed up to a bar in Philly to help out an independent soccer podcast and an independent soccer magazine. And they did so, I assume, because they still want to be part of growing the game in the United States. There aren't many other countries where that could happen. So big thanks to both men for taking the time to talk to us. There are a lot of laughs in the show, but there are also some really great insights. For example, Tab explaining the style of play he's implementing with the US youth national teams and giving us a great anecdote about why Tyler Adams stands out so much. And because Taylor Rockwell is a brave man, we also ask about what happened with Jonathan Gonzalez. At the end of the show, we're joined by Brooks Peck, the Brooks Peck of Dirty Tackle fame, to play the Wikipedia game with us. And Brooks was just as funny as you would expect. Okay, here's the show. We hope you enjoy.
Hello. Hey, everybody. Hi. We're here. You made it. Good. Okay, my name is George. I'm the editor of Howler and the host of a podcast called Dummy. Thank you for coming tonight. It's great to see you all. We have a fun show planned for tonight. Daryl and Taylor from Total Soccer Show are here. Yeah, I thought they have a lot of listeners. So you can think of me as the interim host of this podcast. And they told me that if I make it through the intro without losing any of you to Mexico, I can stay for the rest of the show. So to get it started, I'm going to give away a few copies of the new issue of Howler. And the way we're going to do this is you're going to have to answer a question. It's a multiple choice question, so don't worry. You can just blindly guess. But I'm going to need your name and the cartoon villain that you would choose as the next manager of the U.S. national team. Anyone want to play first? Really? No. Okay. All right. Yes. Okay. So name and Tony.
Cobra Commander.
Great choice. Okay. Great choice. All right. So Tony. Here we go. Newly promoted Serie A side Benevento Calcio began this season with 14 consecutive losses. Not good. What did team president Oreste Vigorito blame for his club's terrible losing streak? Was it A, the mafia, B, witches, or C, the players' obsession with social media?
C.
I'm sorry, it was witches. Yes, that's true. Okay. You get a patch as a consolation prize. Here you go. Okay. Who would like to play next? Yes, back there. Go ahead. What's your name? Peter. And who would you choose? What cartoon villain should be the next manager of the U.S. national team? Oh, okay. Villain, hero, Okay, fine. We'll let you play. All right, good enough. Okay, here we go. Peter, how did Mexico and PSV Eindhoven striker Herving Chucky Lozano get his nickname? Was it A, he whiffed on a shot in practice, missing the ball like Charlie Brown? B, Chucky is Mexican slang for cool guy who wears sunglasses indoors? Or C, he liked to pop out and scare his teammates like Chucky from the Child's Play series?
I'll go with A.
Oh, man. Okay, C, yes. He's, it's a movie. Yeah, okay. You get a patch as well. Find me later. I'll give it to you. Thank you for playing. Come on. All right, guys, we got to get somebody to be one here. Yes, okay, you. What is your name?
My name's Sal.
Sal, okay. What cartoon villain should be the next manager of the U.S. national team?
Joker.
Okay. All right. Which Joker?
The Joker for the
Like the Heath Pierce Joker?
No, animated series.
Oh, yeah, okay, right, of course. My bad. Okay, here's your question. Which of the following statements about legendary referee Pierluigi Collina, the guy with the piercing blue eyes, is not true. Okay, so 2 of these are true. A, he showed Tony Blair a red card in a George Michael music video. B, he graced the cover of Pro Evolution Soccer 4. And C, he appeared on an Italian soap opera entitled Rosso Dritto, Straight Red. Oh my God! No, that's true. He was in a George Michael music video. Show Tony Blair a red card. That is true. I'm sorry, nobody won. You do get a patch. And with that, I'd like to bring out the stars of the show, Taylor and Daryl. Come on, guys. Come on up, guys. Yeah, come on up. Do you guys know which is which?
No one ever does.
We know which one is which.
All right, we do have some special guests tonight. They're backstage. We're really excited to bring them up. First,
We do have guests. We don't love each other that much. There will be more people sitting
yes.
here. But for now.
Would you like to introduce yourselves?
Sure.
Yeah.
I'm Taylor Rockwell. I'm one of the co-hosts of the Total Soccer Show.
I'm Daryl Grove. I'm another one of the co-hosts of the Total Soccer Show.
Woo! Yeah, good. Hey. Woo!
Thank you.
Okay. We're going to start this part of the show. We're in a period of turmoil, of great change, and it seems like big questions are on the table that we need to answer, or at least suggest to the people who have the power to make those changes. And so we're going to start by asking, what is the one thing, if you were elected U.S. Soccer President tomorrow, that you would put all of your energy toward? What is the one big thing that you would like to change? And so, Daryl, why don't you go first?
Okay, I would, on my first day, hang a big banner outside of US Soccer HQ that says, "We now heart ProRel." Just a declaration for all to see.
Okay.
Okay, and this doesn't mean that I'm going to sort of mandate big changes, make ProRel happen. It just means I'm going to sort of let it be known that I'm open to it, that I want it to happen. It would be a proclamation.
You're ProRel curious, in other words.
Curious,
okay.
yeah.
Okay.
That's what the banner would say.
Good. Okay. And okay. All right. Good. All right. Taylor, what would you do?
I think what we both found with this is that it's easy to say the big, giant thing, but really it's got to be the simple gesture. So I guess for Daryl, it's saying ProRel. Yeah.
Yeah.
And I think for me, it's going to be having an actual Spanish language page on the US Soccer website. I feel like that might be slightly helpful.
Wow.
Say.
Okay.
I do appreciate the one video highlight of Landon Donovan from 2009. That is legitimately the only video highlight that's there. So I feel like that maybe is a good start. And then maybe from there we actually do a little bit better job about approaching people in the inner city and approaching the Latino community. Maybe just trying to get some people maybe not to go switch to the other national team.
So your first day in office, you do some coding
Yes.
on the US Soccer website.
Worth noting at this point that Daryl is the one who built the Total Soccer Show website. So can you do that?
No.
Beautiful.
Bienvenidos a the US Soccer website.
Sí.
Okay. And mine is I moved back to my hometown of Tampa recently, and I've been playing nothing but five-a-side soccer, and I love it. It's so much fun. And the place that I play is called Cinco Soccer, and it's not just a soccer field. It's a bar and a place where people go to watch World Cup qualifiers. We get up early and play on Sunday mornings for fun. It's a community, and I feel like if we're going to change the culture around American soccer, which you want to constantly be improving that. Creating these community centers where people can go and play and sort of learn to love the game again and just sort of play for fun is so important, and get touches on the ball. So my resolution would be take some of that money we have in the bank and basically let people experiment. Let them open small businesses around the country in urban areas where they can just build places like this to have them come. So that's my big idea, and I think it's happening actually, which is good. Okay,
Good work.
thank you. Yeah. And here to tell us why each of these ideas is the wrong big idea is Alexi Lalas. He's going to join us on stage now. So Alexi, come on out. Yeah. Grab a seat. Grab a mic. Yeah. Okay, so if you don't know who... I'm just kidding.
What'd you say?
You need no introduction, basically.
What did you say? You want to take the money and have people have businesses? What kind of crap? What do you want to do? Small businesses?
I know. I'm a socialist, so I feel bad. Okay. So, Alexi, what is your big idea? What would you do on that first day?
Well, I couldn't hear what the other ideas were there.
Okay, so
usually I steal ideas. So.
Open to pro rel.
Yeah, not mandate. It doesn't have to happen. I heard Sunil in your interview today say, there are legal obstacles. We'd end up in front of the Supreme Court. But I would just make it known that we are interested in the idea with a big banner. We heart pro rel.
That's your big idea.
I'm going to make a banner.
That's like saying no pay to play. That doesn't tell me anything. You're open to pro rel.
We would just advance the conversation.
Well, who's not open to pro rel?
I feel like you're about to come across the table.
Who says, I hate pro rel? It's the stupidest thing I've ever seen. It makes it boring for me. Who said that?
I feel like Sunil and Dangaba have both sort of said, we're not interested. Not in our lifetime, it's not happening. So I just prefer to say, I am open to it happening. And then just the door opens just a little bit. And then maybe eventually we go through the door. Maybe it's 30 years from now. But at least the door's open a crack.
Got it. Okay. All right. Then you had one? Oh, jeez. Don't be nervous. It's okay.
I don't know. You got a little anger. I think with that in mind, I think maybe it's going to be instead of like the national anthem, since like nobody sings it anyway during the U.S. national team games. Maybe we'll just play like one of your songs. That's what I'm going to say.
So no national anthem?
Yeah, exactly. No. Mine.
You think they got problems now?
Spanish language page on the U.S. Soccer website.
Oh, all right. Well, that's
one that's easily accessible. Like, for example, if you just wrote
small, right?
Espanol or
They're
something,
thinking small but good, important.
Well, I think more so the idea being to reach communities that don't necessarily get reached all that often.
Right. Okay. I don't have a big idea. I don't have ideas other than.
Well, you didn't like Daryl's idea.
No, I kill people's ideas, but I don't have any of my own. That's what we do in television, right? No, So I think, and I think we have somebody else coming up here that probably can talk to this even more. But I think when it comes to the actual soccer on the field, I think articulating privately and publicly how we want to play is important in terms of us having success. And when I say success, I mean a successful national team, a national team that wins. And in doing so, being honest and accepting that when we lay out this is how we are going to play, these are the types of players that we are going to have. In doing so, while we are going to get better as a soccer playing, as a soccer team, we have to accept, and as I said, be honest, that it might exclude people. And in doing that, it might be the quickest way for us to get a better soccer team.
Okay,
so that would be my big idea. I would say this is how we are playing. This is the type of player that we were looking for. This is the type of formation we are looking for. This is the style that we are going to play. And if you can play like that, we like you.
Okay, so talk to me.
We like you, but you can play on this team. And if you can't, it doesn't mean we don't like you. It doesn't mean you're not a great player. But we waste so much time and effort and energy trying to be everything to everybody out there.
Okay.
And I understand why we do it. But when it comes to actually winning soccer games and putting together a good soccer team, sometimes it is an incredible waste of energy.
Question.
Okay.
So that's my big idea.
Yeah, so we're talking about identity, in a sense.
Yeah,
right?
and
so talk to me about the difference between dictating that identity, coming from the top, and that identity being an outpouring of the culture that we have and the types of players who are naturally developed in this country, because it seems to me that those two ideas are in opposition in some cases.
It's not in opposition, but when we look at our country, the thing that makes our country incredible, and the greatest country in the world as far as I'm concerned, is our diversity. It's what's made us strong, it's what's made us unique, it's what's made us different, it's what's made us awesome. However, it also makes it incredibly difficult to field a soccer team because with this diversity comes diversity of thought when it comes to how we think about the game. And I have to ask everybody in here what the beautiful game is. What's pretty soccer? How do you want your soccer team to play? I'm going to get a different answer from every single person in here. So finding an identity, finding how we are going to play, and sticking with it, I think that can be beneficial going forward. And does it mean that there are certain players, like I said, that don't fit in, and certain styles that don't fit in? And maybe it's your style or what you find pretty. Yeah. But once again, trying to meet all of those different things, I think it takes much too much time and energy.
But isn't that sort of solving one problem by creating another? Like, isn't that what we've already kind of done, where you have, like, this style of play that maybe disenfranchises other players or other types of players? So then if you're saying, all right, it's going to be, like, technical and very creative, then, like, Andy Carroll, who wouldn't play for the U.S. national team anyway, but, like, you know, I'm like, I don't think he maybe is going to make it anymore.
Yes, but Andy Carroll now as a youngster, when he's playing with an understanding, because this is where U.S. soccer needs to play a part in terms of how they articulate that publicly and how they get it out there. As a young player, your coach knows that this is how your team is going to play. And so it's the ability to adjust. And good players, I believe, have the ability to adjust. But I don't think, in this case, you need to arm them with the information to be able to adjust. So if Andy Carroll says, look, I want to play with the national team. I want to play with this specific national team. I know that this is how they play. So I know that I'm going to have to play like that to even be considered. Then he is going to adjust. His coach is going to adjust. His team's going to adjust. Or they're not going to adjust. And in doing so, he still may go on to be a great player and score a lot of goals and make a lot of money and be a professional player, but he just won't fit in with the national team. And that's okay. I know it scares the crap out of American soccer. Do we have unrealized talent out there or talent falling through the cracks? I get that. This is about talent falling through the cracks. This is the recognition that there are going to be some good players that don't necessarily fit into the way that you want to play, regardless of how you want to play. So this isn't, I want to play in the air, or I want to play on the ground, or, if we just said all left-footed players, or all you can only play with your left foot, or something like that. If you were a right-footed player, what would you do? You say, well, if I'm going to play on that team, I better sure as hell work on my left foot and get better with my left foot.
Okay. I would say, as the token Englishman on the stage, if you guys want Andy Carroll,
you can have. Okay.
It's all yours.
Okay, this has been great. I think we have somebody backstage.
Yeah, I was going to say, it seems like if only we had like some sort of like youth technical director
who has been doing this
us.
for the last so many years. So Tab Ramos is here. And
hey!
Yeah, Tab, come on up. Please grab this mic. We're going to turn it on real quick. Yeah. Take a seat. Welcome. We can get.
Hey, buddy.
How are you? So obviously, U.S. soccer legend, but also youth technical director. So over the past how many years, you've been trying to coalesce all the teams into one idea of play, I feel like. And so can you talk a little bit about that, especially in regards to this event that just happened in Florida, where you got, 4 youth national teams together in one place?
Summit, yeah. So first of all, I've been youth technical director at US Soccer since 2013, so it's been now 4 years. The event that we just had was the Youth National Team Summit that was held in Sarasota, Florida, and we were able to bring our U16 national team, our U17, 18, 19s, and 20s. So we had 5 teams there at one time.
That's amazing. So what is the idea there? Is that the first time that's happened? To my knowledge, they've been relatively siloed in terms of their training, their approach.
It's really difficult to sometimes schedule the youth national teams at one time because we're all on different schedules all over the world. So normally at the beginning of your cycle, when you're beginning, and the cycle is every 2 years, you turn teams from one age group to the next. So this was the beginning of a cycle and the one moment where we could have everybody's schedule fit in so that we could do this at once.
So I know these guys want to ask a lot of questions. I have one more before we get to them, which is I know that when you get youth players together like that, there's a lot you're trying to teach them, but I also imagine there's a lot that you learn. What do you learn from getting all those different age groups together in one place that you can see that you couldn't see if you got them each individually?
So there was one thing that was really important to us. So we've been thinking about doing a youth national team summit now for a couple of years. But I think you have to do it at the right time. It's difficult to sometimes just bring 150 players together that don't have an idea of how you want to play. So I believe that over the last couple of years, we've developed a way of playing on the youth national teams, and we've been very successful with that. Our players have been very successful with that. And so we wanted to make sure we brought everybody together to show, once again, our style of play at once, to let our players know that although I may be the U20 national team coach and, say, for example, John Hackworth is a U17 national team coach, all our coaches are meeting. We're having conference calls every week to discuss every one of the players. So we want to make sure that the players knew that although they feel like John Hackworth is the coach for the U17 national team, we're really all their coaches because we're constantly discussing all of our talent from our 14s through our U20s.
I just want to say that sounds suspiciously similar to what you said when you came out, and I feel like you guys had that conversation backstage and then you just stole it.
Who is this?
Can I just say something about this guy right here? People ask me who the greatest player I ever played with from a U.S. team perspective. It's this man sitting right here to my left.
Wow, that's nice. Thank you.
He was a man out of time. Honestly, he was much too good for those around him, like myself. And I would have loved to have seen what he would have been had he been born 10, 20 years later. So it's an absolute privilege. Not just because of that, but also I know it's kind of in vogue nowadays to crap all over U.S. soccer. And it's not that at times the criticism isn't warranted. And it's not just Tab, but a lot of people, for what we're doing wrong, or why didn't you do this, or why didn't you call this person, all that kind of stuff. He and so many others, men and women that work every single day in the United States in U.S. soccer for the federation, on and off the field, sweat and toil and give everything they possibly have for this country. And it doesn't mean that we can't be critical of them, but I just think it's real easy nowadays, because the United States men's national team is not going to the World Cup, to want to tear it down and want to destroy all the people and the work that has been done. And there's a lot of good that's been done. It doesn't mean we can't get better, but there's a whole lot of good that's been done, and this man right here is part of that good.
Thank you. Wow. Okay. Thank you. Thank you, everyone.
No, you got to stay in a minute.
So, Tab, you mentioned at the Winter Summit that you're sort of establishing, a style of play, U16 through U20, all those kids there. Could you kind of describe to us, to the room, how you see that style of play? What is the US soccer style of play sort of under your leadership?
It's all left-footed players. Has that been discussed?
You guys were talking about
I don't know if that's been discussed at all, right? We just want all left-footed players. And everybody sit down. No, we've been, what's important is, at the end of the day, with the youth national teams, we're not necessarily developing players. So the life of a player on the national team is, we may call you to our U18 national team in January for 8 days, and we don't see you again until April for 8 more days. And then we'll see you again in September for 8 more days. So there's very little development that happens on the youth national teams. And what happens is, we're providing international experiences for the players to one day, so that they can use those experiences to play one day for the senior national team. That's our goal. Obviously, easier said than done, but that's what we do. So it's very short periods of time. So it's very important that when we speak about soccer, that we're always, in particular with the youth, that we're always speaking the same language. And so it's important for us that every single player that comes in from U14 to U20 knows what a number 6 is. Right? So in South America, number 6 may be an outside back. Here for us, a number 6 is a defensive midfielder. A number 2 is a right back. A number 7 is a right winger. So we're speaking the same language. Our default start of play, if I had to say what our default start, and I say default because we don't force anyone to play in any particular way. So our default start of play with all our teams, as you've seen with our 17s in the World Cup, and you've seen with our 20s in the World Cup, and you've seen with our 15s at the CONCACAF Championships, is we try to play in a 4-3-3, where we have 4 guys in the back, we have 3 midfielders in the middle of the field, a 6, 8, and a 10 that rotate to come and receive the ball. We need to be very skillful. You need to demand the ball. You need to have those abilities in the center of the field. And then you have a 7, 9, and 11. Your 9 is your in-box center forward. Your 7 is your dribbler, speed guy that can take people on. Your 11 is kind of the same. A lefty, you can switch on, play inverted or whatever. That's our default start of play. Everyone on a youth national team knows that very clearly. We've put that message across, not just last week, but they've been learning this way. So that's now, that doesn't mean that John Hackworth goes to the U17 World Cup and he's playing a team where he feels like, hey, I'm going to play 4-4-2 today because that's what we need. Then we do that. But that's not how we play. That's how we play that day. And so our players are learning in a certain way, and I think it's very clear. And it's important always when you have these big meetings and you put them together that everybody knows what they're about, right? So our meeting that we just had, our summit, was about team building, but the team building wasn't about just building one team. Our team building is building our 150 players at once. It was about all our players knowing who all our coaches are, about putting all our coaches in front of all 150 players, about the players learning how we all operate, the things that the coach are doing to get there, our high performance department, how that works, how that gets reported back to their clubs. I could go on and bore everybody. I don't want to do that, but that's kind of what the summit was about. It was about getting everybody on the same page.
So I also want to follow up and say I love the idea of a defined basic style of play you can build on at the youth level, but then it needs to connect eventually to the senior men's national team. So is it possible that maybe one day we see Tab Ramos at the senior men's national team coach, and then you're able to sort of take all that stuff you've implemented and put it on the sort of the senior stage?
And by one day, he means immediately after the January camp.
Next week, hopefully. No, look, I don't know. That's not something for me. I can tell you, I'm comfortable where I am. I have a good position. I think I personally think that we're doing a lot of good with the youth national teams. We have a good way to play. Our young players now, we have a gap. Obviously, we don't have that connection to the senior national team at the moment because we don't have a coach. We don't really have a direction that way. But what I can tell you is this. Our senior national team didn't qualify to the World Cup. They started to get old. They played a little bit old. There's a gap between those guys and the guys that we have now to go on to the 2022 World Cup. But what I can tell you is that the guys that we have coming up have the skill to succeed. And I think what they won't have is the experience to compete at the international level in those really important qualifying games. But what I can also tell you is the way they've been taught and the way they think about the national team and wearing the crest, that they will make that up with effort to be as good as they have to be to get us to the next World Cup.
So I think one of the things that has been on our mind a lot lately, because he chose to play for Mexico, is Jonathan Gonzalez. And I don't really want to go too much into that one because it probably will just bum everybody out, because I'm pretty sure he's going to be pretty good for a good long while. But I'm wondering, what does U.S. Soccer need to do? What can we do on a youth technical development level to ensure that we don't keep losing players to Mexico? Because while he is the most high profile, he's one in a long series, I would say.
Okay, well, I mean, first of all, it's not when you're saying so we don't keep losing players to Mexico. Yeah. Who have we lost that has played for the Mexican national team who's been successful internationally?
Fair. I think I'm looking more so at like youth level, when you've got like Edwin Lara, you've got Efrain Alvarez. I think there's one more. Like I think Ulysses Yanez is committed.
Yeah.
Correct.
Okay, so this is what I can answer about Jonathan Gonzalez. By the way, great player, great kid, great family. All of it is good, right? So we've had him on the U14 national team, on U15, U16, U17, all the way through U20s. He's lived our whole experience. He's decided now, however, decided that Mexico is the way to go for him. I feel that, look, I'm running the youth national team programs. As a former national team player, I don't want to play on the same team as someone who wants to be on the other team. Right? And if I'm a coach for the U.S. national team, I also don't want to be coaching a player that would rather be playing for the other team, and especially our rivals. So if you're 20 years old or 19 years old and you decided at this point, I'm going to go play for Mexico, well, I hope you feel that, right? Because I know that our American players feel playing for us, and that's what we want. So if at that point that's what you decided, then I think we tried. You decided to play for the other team, we'll beat you on the other team.
Can I ask you? Can I ask you about that? Because I saw your quote to that effect with Ivis. You gave an interview to Ivis, and I was thinking, I see where he's coming from, but at the same time, the United States is unique in that we have more dual national possibilities than most nations, right? You see the German Americans, you see the Mexican Americans, and so if someone grows up in that environment, exactly. Someone grows up in that environment and they're sort of teetering between. They feel they're both. They're Mexican, they're American, and one is giving them an opportunity to go to the World Cup. The other one, you're going to have to wait 4 years. It seems like, okay, yes, we want them to feel that desire, but there should be an element. It may not be the coach, because you don't want to maybe necessarily commit yourself too much and say, oh, I really want you, because then if you don't play him, then what you've just sort of lied. But you also need somebody to be going and saying, hey, you are part of our plans. We do want you. We want to show you that affection, so you want to choose us too.
Right. Well, look, I mean, I can only tell you from our end, and I can only work up until the U20 national team. I personally, and I can only speak for myself, but I couldn't call Jonathan Gonzalez and say, hey, you're going to the next World Cup and you're going to be on the senior team at the end of January, and you're going to be on the senior team all the way to June. The fact is, at this point, we don't really have a senior national team coach. And so if we had that, maybe some other promises could be made. At the same time, you have to be careful with the promises you make, because then you have to follow through with the promises you make. Sure. And so I always believe that young players need to earn their position, and no one's guaranteed. And when I look at U.S. national team, and I look at Tyler Adams, and I look at Kellen Acosta, and I look at Weston McKinney, and Kristen Pulisic, and Nick Tatagu, and Josh Sargent, and none of those guys are 20, by the way, yet, or Kellen is, but I mean, that we have a future, and we have a lot of good players, so I don't think we're in position to promise anyone something else either.
Yeah, Daryl has a well-known obsession with Tyler Adams. So
I mean, obsession's a strong word.
I'd say
big admirer of
unhealthy obsession. That's what I would say.
Big admirer of
Look,
Tyler
I'll
Adams.
tell you a little anecdote about Tyler Adams. So I've been coaching obviously youth national team for the last 6-7 years. Tyler Adams is the only player that I've had that actually gets mad at himself if he doesn't get to a ball when he's pressuring. He's like, "Come on, Tyler!" And you're the coach on the side. And you're like, "Well, shouldn't I be doing that?" Like he's doing that to himself. I've never heard that before. He's the only guy.
So go ahead.
I'd love to ask the coach, Tyler Adams' best position? Question mark?
Inside midfielder, like a number 8, number 10 kind of guy. I played a little different because I like to play my midfield inverted. I like for my more defensive go-getter guys to play the 8 and the 10 position to go press high, and then my more
U20
skillful,
World Cup, that's what you did.
Yeah, that's what we did, and we had our more skillful, which was Gideon Zalalem, play the number 6, so that he could
briefly.
Right, but then he did his ACL 20 minutes into the World Cup, so we lost him, but we did well without him anyway. But yeah, I like to do it different, and Tyler is the perfect guy to go get him.
So Alexi is the busiest man alive right now. So if you need to go, we want to give you an opportunity to go.
I like listening to him.
Okay, because I have a question. I recently interviewed some of your colleagues at the U.S. national team, so Alois and Nico Romain and Tony Lepore. So they're in charge of talent ID and coaching education and the boys' academy. And the one thing they kept saying that all three said was the pathway. The pathway needs to get better. It's getting better. And the pathway is, how do we take raw talent and make them national team players? And I have you two on stage, and you represent, to me, opposite poles of the possible pathways for U.S. national team players. I mean, we've got you played hockey growing up, right? And you made it through this, came through college. You had this desire to become a pro player, and you did. And Tab, it seems to me you grew up with it much more ingrained in your culture. That's clear in the skill you brought, the creativity, the ability to read the game. And so I wonder, where do you see that on sort of on the spectrum right now? It seems to me we're sort of converging more toward your end, which seems like, no offense, a good thing. We want those kids to have grown up with that soccer intelligence from a young age. What's your read on that?
What do I see?
Yeah.
Well, I mean, I think our players now we're talking, when you talk about Tyler Adams, you talk about a player that's born in 1999. So we already, the day he's born, we already have a league here. Mm-hmm. It exists, like it's part of our culture. Although it may have been in 1999, a very small part of the culture. And I played for the Metro Stars, so it was really not a whole lot to look at the time. But that's your culture. When we were growing up here, we didn't have a league. Soccer was one of these sports. I still remember 1989 when we qualified to the World Cup and we went to St. Louis Soccer Park to play against Costa Rica, and we sold out the game. It was the first sellout, and I think it was like 3,000 people at the game, or 5,000, and that was great. Wow, we're our bus pulling into St. Louis Soccer Park, and we see the sign, "No more tickets." You're like, wow, this is great, and there's only like 5,000 people. So it's different. Tyler Adams gets 5,000 people playing for the Red Bulls every week at 17 years old. So I think it's a different culture, different time to grow up, much more exciting time to grow up. And I think the kids that we have now feel like, hey, this is soccer. We're just as big as any other sport. They almost get insulted if you say soccer is not as big as another sport. We're used to something different because we're a little bit older.
And yet, I believe, Alexi, you grew up idolizing musicians more than soccer players. And are we losing a little bit of that individuality and personality by sort of making everyone conform to a certain style of play?
Well, if you're looking for a pathway, if you want one pathway, then yes, you're going to steer everybody onto whatever it is you believe. But once again, I started off talking about wasting time and energy trying to be everything to everybody. And you could say, well, we could have a bunch of different pathways. I do think the unique nature of our country lends itself to having multiple pathways that even if you don't want them, they are still going to be there. Look at what college is compared to when we were in college as opposed to what it is now. But it also doesn't mean that we should throw the baby out with the bathwater, and that it doesn't mean that there aren't players that can really benefit from the college experience. Does the college situation need to get better? Yeah, but we also know it's a behemoth, and the NCAA, it's very, very difficult to change that around. But the lessons that you learn, the experiences that you have in college, I do believe that I was a better soccer player for having gone through college. Not necessarily the college soccer experience, but just the college experience. Some of the lessons that I learned, because we talked so much about the 90 minutes that a professional soccer player plays, and we forget about the other 22 and a half hours that person has to live. And the lessons that you learn, the experiences that you have, all inform you when you're dealing with that other 22 and a half hours. And so in our haste to make better soccer players, which I think is important, and whether it's Tab or anybody else that is doing a good job, we also have to recognize that we are fostering not just soccer players, but human beings, young men and women. And while their career might be very, very important to us and to them, a career can define you. And one of the reasons why we're sitting here is the things that we did on the soccer field. It's still a very small portion of your life. And the tools that we equip them with, whether it's trapping a ball or whether it's dealing with money or stardom or any of that kind of stuff, those are of equal value. And I hope we don't throw those away in our attempt to make this more direct and clear path.
Amen.
I have two questions, both of which are slightly random. So I'm going to let people cheer for which one they want to hear. Do we want to hear a question about Josh Sargent, or do you want to hear a question about roommates? Asked and answered. All right. So with Josh Sargent, who is obviously very much on the rise, how does that work with him getting called up to increasingly older, senior national teams? So he's playing for the U17s, then he's playing for the U20s. How does that sort of call-up process work, and what do you expect from him long-term as well?
So as I mentioned before, with our youth national teams, all the coaches know all the players, and we started following Josh before World Cup qualifying, going into U17 World Cup qualifying last year. After seeing Josh play through the Nike friendlies in 2016, we pretty much had a meeting with John Hackworth, and I said, look, it seems to me like this kid is ahead of his years. He has great timing getting in the box. He plays the game more like a man than guys on the U20s. I said, I think we may have to push him up. I think that may be what's best for him if we push him up within the national teams. And so we decided to not disrupt the U17 national team at the time because they were going into World Cup qualifying. But we already knew, John Hackworth and I and the rest of the coaches already knew that as soon as the World Cup qualifying was over, that he was going to leave to go with the U20s. Josh didn't know that. So he went to World Cup qualifying, neither did his parents. And so he went into World Cup qualifying, and he played great, by the way. And then after he played great, everybody saw, hey, they called him up to the U20 national team because he did great. The decision was already made 3 months before that that's what was going to be best for Josh to move up to the U20 national team. So a couple things about Josh. Number one, he's a great person and a hard worker. He comes from a part of America where you can count on that, by the way, right? So everybody's different in all parts of America. So he's a good person. He's a hard worker on the team.
Wait, what part of America don't you work hard?
I was worried about that, too.
I think there you can count. I come from New Jersey, and you can work hard, but there's a lot of people that choose not to. Okay. But anyway, so he has great timing into the box. He's a good finisher. He's a good kid. He has all the ingredients to do great. And so we decided to move him up, and that decision was made way before. So unfortunately for us, the U20 World Cup ends up being before the U17 World Cup, and so he goes to the U20 World Cup and does great. And that's very difficult to follow when you move down an age group. And you kind of expect for him to have one of those, 2 or 3 games where he feels like, oh, this should be easier because I was one of the leading, I was a silver boot or whatever at the U20 World Cup, and now I got to go to the U17. I'm going to score 1,000. It's only normal that you would think that, and I think it took him a little bit to adjust to U17. But Josh is a great player, and obviously he's in Germany now, already doing well, and and he's, there's going to be no deception there. He's going to get better and better.
And I had one more question. Sorry. It relates to youth development as well. Can you tell us a little bit about Timothy Tillman and what maybe is happening there? Do you think that is going to go through the one-time switch, or has he filed that, or is it still sort of up in the air?
As far as I know, he has not filed that, right? But he's very interested in coming to us, and I've been talking with him. I talked with him leading into the summit camp, to which he was coming, and he got hurt right beforehand. We contacted his doctor, and it was, in the end, we still wanted to bring him to get him a feel of our national teams. But it didn't make sense for us to make the kid fly all that far. But he's very interested in coming to us. He's excited about coming to us. Whether that means a full-time switch at some point, I'm not sure. I think that will happen. I can tell you he's a good winger. He's a good player. And he's going to make the U20 national team a lot better.
I like that.
I have a hypothetical question for Tab and Alexi. If we had a very sophisticated time machine, and we could go back to the start of this past World Cup qualifying cycle, if you could add one player from the youth national teams and maybe add them to that team to try and help us qualify, who would it be? And if it was a really expensive time machine, if you could add one player in their prime from when you guys played for the national team, a former national team teammate, whom would you add to the 2018 World Cup qualifying team?
Is an unsophisticated time machine a DeLorean? What are you picturing here? Yeah, so sophisticated time machine.
Wow, you want to go first on that?
I lost track.
Yeah,
What?
yeah.
So,
Let's say
Something
which
about a
player.
time machine? I
Which,
don't know.
if you could redo the 2018 World Cup qualifying cycle, which player from your national team days
Got it.
would you add to try and sort of fix the team?
That's a good one.
You can say yourself.
It's a big task.
no, I mean, I already
it wouldn't
told
be
everybody how
me.
great you are, so I kind of have to. I mean, Tony. I put Tony in goal.
Okay.
Oh, I mean, yeah. I mean, I would put Tony in goal. And then what else was it?
A player maybe from the current youth national team setup, a U20 player. If you
I
could
don't
go
know.
back,
He knows
would there be
it.
anyone?
Yeah.
So here's the question: could any of those guys have handled some of the World Cup qualifying cycle? Who's best equipped?
I would say, out of all the guys we had, I think there's a couple, but I would put Tyler Adams ahead of the curve with all those guys. I think because you can put him in any position, and he would have given a lot, and especially because I felt like our team just lacked energy, and I think he would have brought that.
Thank you.
Okay.
Yeah. All right, guys, everyone, thank you so much for coming out. We really
Thank you.
appreciate it.
Thank you.
Tab Ramos and Alexi Lalas, everybody.
Thank you, guys.
Yeah.
Thanks, Tab. I appreciate it. Please take a copy of Howler with you.
Okay. Thank you.
Alexi, you have one coming to your house. Thank you. All right, we have one more segment coming up. First, 3 more chances for you guys to, win a copy of Howler or humiliate yourselves. Yes, okay, you want to go. I need your first name and the cartoon villain who should coach the men's national team. Thank you. Yeah, do you have an opinion on this?
How many jokers?
There's one.
Only one. The cartoon.
To coach the Joker.
To coach. Joker was chosen.
We already had that.
Yeah.
There's so many.
Okay, so what you got?
Cesar Romero. The old school.
Okay, so we got 2 jokers. Good, fine. And your first name? Sid. Okay, Sid. Here we go. To better understand the mental state of referees, researchers at Northumbria University studied the psychological profiles of county-level and Premier League officials. Their findings showed that refs at the bottom and the top share a similar trait. Is it A, a heightened sense of illusory superiority, B, crippling bouts of depression, or C, strained relationships with their mothers? It's one of the 3.
It's not B, all the above. Yeah, it's almost hard to pick.
Yeah.
I'm going to go with depression.
Depression. I'm sorry. It is a heightened sense of illusory superiority. Yes. Yes.
Try harder. I'm going to try harder next time.
Okay. Right there. You seem to be very confident. All right. What's your name? Sorry. Nee. Okay. And Nee. Which cartoon superhero should be the next? No, it's not superhero. I apologize. Villain or henchman. Henchmen count. Oh, perfect. Excellent choice. In October, Jermaine Jones released a video in which he revealed that he had called Jordan Morris and encouraged him to sign with a German club. Which of the following was a reason Morris gave for wanting to stay in Seattle? A, Morris was scared of driving on the other side of the road. B, his parents had just bought him and his girlfriend a dog. C, he didn't want to pay for an international cell phone plan. Yes, okay, you win. Our first winner.
Like a little enthusiasm, George.
Yes,
you
please.
win.
No, please.
Good stuff, man.
I was on a hot streak. Yes, you back there. Yes, you. Yes. What is your first name? Julie. And who's your pick to coach the U.S. national team? Yes. Excellent. Oh, I think we would have qualified if. Yeah. Okay. San Diego Soccer's forward Craig Childs has scored more than 300 goals in the last 8 seasons. But before he turned to indoor soccer, he played 1 season for Chivas USA, where his head coach was Precky. What was the first thing Precky said to him? The first thing he ever said to this guy? A, you are good, but you are fat. B, get the hell off my field. C, fetch that ball, son. Yes! Yes! Hey! Yeah! Please pass this down. Thank you. Great answer. Okay, we're going to play a game called the Wikipedia Game.
Yeah.
Indeed.
And we have another special guest for that, Brooks Peck of Dirty Tackle and Philadelphia local. He even goes to Eagles games. I'm pandering, guys. Come on, give me.
He even goes to
Yeah. There you go.
Nice.
All right. Okay. So I don't remember the rules of this game. Tell us the rules.
Oh, Daryl, I think you're the official rule master of the Wikipedia game. So go ahead.
Okay, very, very quick summary of the Wikipedia game. Taylor has on his phone the Wikipedia page of a mystery player. He will give us some clues from that player's Wikipedia page. He will then tell us how many teams that player has played for. Then the contestants on stage will bid on how many of those teams we would need to know in order to name that player. At some point, someone will challenge the person on the spot to name that player. If you get it right, you get the point. If you challenge and the person gets it wrong, the challenger gets the point.
And how does this game come to an end?
We'll play to three. We'll
And
play to two.
Are you playing?
I'm playing, yeah.
Okay, so there's three of us.
Yeah, that's why I'm leaning away from Taylor's phone so I don't see the...
Should we switch? Would that
Yeah,
be
maybe
easier?
you should stand where George is standing.
I could do that. Or I'll just stand in the middle.
Okay.
George, you can have a seat.
All right.
Okay.
Hi.
All right.
Oh, my phone locked. All right. So we've got two categories. We've got... are they current? No. Players that have played for the Philadelphia Union and players that have won the U17 World Cup. There's a chance I thought Tab was still going to be here when we played this game. So,
Call me
Brooks.
Tab if you want.
I will.
Yeah.
Hey, Tab.
Thank you.
How you doing? And Tab, would you like to choose?
Sure.
Philadelphia players?
Let's do,
or
let's go local.
All right.
Philadelphia.
This gentleman has played for 12 clubs, none of them twice. 68 appearances and 6 goals for the U.S. national team. He won the Gold Cup in 2005 and 2007. He was born in Washington, D.C., and played 2 years at Clemson before turning pro, so a little bit of college in there. He has dual citizenship and speaks 4 languages and was named the best foreign player for his league in 2005. And he is still active, sort of, I think. Question mark.
Can I guess a name right off the bat?
You cannot.
No.
You can say how many clubs you would need to name it, and you can go negative, which means you say the player and how
You
many
have to
of his
name the
clubs.
clubs.
Yeah.
I'll play it safe and say, just give me one club.
One club. George, what about you?
Negative. I'm going to be safe. -2.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'll say -3.
Oh no. Okay. All right. No, I can go negative. Wait, clubs.
Now
Does
it's
college
right
count?
Now it's Brooks.
Do you know how rules work, George?
Okay.
Tab, your chance.
Can I guess a name?
You have to say -4.
Okay,
or
-4.
All right.
-4.
George, now you may name more. Or you can
Or
challenge.
you can challenge Brooks to name.
Can you name 4
Ooh.
clubs? 4. Okay. Challenge.
So do I say the name first?
You
and then
do.
4 clubs?
You
Is
do.
it Freddie, you do?
It is not.
So
All
does
right.
he get -4 points now?
He does not.
Oh.
But you get a point for challenging him to name it. Did you all have Freddie do as a guess?
No.
All right. Yeah.
Gooch.
Oh, yeah, right. You thought Freddie Adu went to Clemson?
Well, he could have gone part-time, gone nice school, I don't know.
I think he went pro when he was like 4.
Okay.
All right. So George gets the point. Daryl, you were not involved. What category would you like?
Could you please remind me of the categories?
Philadelphia Union players or U17 winners? We're going to do Philadelphia Union players. 13 clubs. None of them twice. There's a reason why I chose this. 17 caps and 2 goals for the U.S. national team. He grew up in Potomac, Maryland, but wasn't born there. He made 12 appearances or fewer for 11 of those 13 clubs. As in, for 11 of those clubs, he didn't get more than like 11 appearances, basically. He trained with Manchester United, but wasn't able to move due to a work permit issue, which leads me to believe genuinely that he has edited his own Wikipedia page. There's a lot of stuff in there that's very personal information about how he developed his weaker foot. I don't know why that would be in there. He dated American singer JoJo. Don't know who that is. There you go. And is currently out of contract. Daryl, 13 clubs.
I'm going to start with 13 clubs.
Okay. I feel like Brooks sees what I've done here. Brooks?
I do see what you've done here. Am I still out of play?
Yeah.
Yeah. Whatever. What did you say?
I said 13.
13?
I was brave.
I'll go -18.
You know that means that you have to name every single one of his clubs correctly.
Oh. Okay.
And also 5 he didn't play for. Yeah.
Let's do -7.
All right.
I think I can do 7.
Jorginho?
Oh, man. So wait, so if I think I know who it is, but I don't think I can name 7 of his clubs, then I lose.
God, you must be awesome on game night. Yes. So if you can't name him and 8 clubs, then you got to challenge Brooks. Or you can try. You can take a guess.
7 clubs.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I think he's
make him do it. Let's make him do it.
His whole life has been leading up to this moment. So okay, let's do it. Challenge.
I think he was pretty cavalier with that 7 clubs. We'll see how
he
this
was.
goes.
Yeah, I agree.
A little bit.
I agree.
A little bit.
All right.
Let's start MLS. Let's go.
Wait, you haven't said the player yet.
Freddie, you do.
No? Yeah, it is.
Oh, pass out. Okay. DC United,
Yeah.
Real Salt Lake,
Correct.
Philly.
Correct.
Then let's go overseas to Benfica,
Correct.
Monaco.
Correct.
This is where it gets dicey. That's what, 5? I need 2 more.
George got the count.
Let's do. Oh God, what was the Brazil one? There's one for
It
every
actually
country.
it is listed as the Brazil one in
Yeah.
Wikipedia, so you're good, yeah.
Oh God, I'm blanking now.
Ooh.
Yeah, just say a team name, and he probably played for him. There's a team in Sweden, I think. I'm learning their names though.
So you want to take a guess? Because otherwise George is going to win this game. George gets 2 points here.
And Real Madrid. They're the next 2.
Tampa Bay Rowdies.
Tampa Bay Rowdies.
Tampa Bay Rowdies.
Yes, okay.
And Addis. So, very quick story. I once went to Greece to do an interview. I interviewed the woman who was like the team manager of Addis, right, where he played in Saloniki. And she, at the end of the interview, it had been like 2 years since he had been there. She said to me, "Hey, do you know where Freddie Adu is?" And I was like, "Yeah, I don't know, not really, but he's not here. I know he was here." And she says, "Well, his Mercedes is still parked at the team hotel where players would spend the night before games." And I was like, "Really?" And that's the end of the story.
Well, George, I know where he is. Let's bring him out.
Yeah. So I just won the game.
You did. George is the winner, yeah. Well done, George.
Thanks, Brooks.
You should give yourself a copy of Howler. I should. There we go. Well, I mean, we do have 2 more. All right, actually, we're going to do a different version of this because I only prepared for 4, and then I got terrified because I wasn't sure how many I was going to need. So we're going to do a different version. I'm going to give you the first club a player has played for. Each of you will get 1 chance to tell me who the player is. If nobody gets it, we'll go to the second club and the third club and so on until we figure out who it is.
Okay.
All right.
This is the last round?
Well, you already won that game. We're going to do... Yeah, we'll just do 1 more. Yeah.
How many copies of Howler do you need? Should win them back from the crowd.
The New
that
Jersey
good.
Eagles. The New Jersey Eagles is his first club.
Do we just shout it out? Or?
Yeah?
Tony Meola?
Incorrect. You only get 1 guess around.
Josie Altidore.
Also incorrect.
Mr. Tab Ramos. Maybe?
Correct.
Yes. Yeah. There we go.
That's redemption. Good stuff. We can do 1 more of those.
Let's do 1 more.
All right. Whoever says it first wins. Padova.
Alexi Lalas.
Correct.
You said first team.
What?
You said first.
That's the first team listed. They don't list colleges. Sorry,
Okay.
George.
All right. Is that the show?
What do you mean?
Is that the end of the show?
Good way.
As the host,
You run a tight ship, George. You run a tight ship. Yeah.
Wow, that's the end of the show.
Hey, how about that?
All right, everybody, thank you so much for coming. We really appreciate it. Please stay and say hi and have a beer. Oh yeah, and we have Howler subscriptions to sell you if you would like one.